Sally here from Salt, and I've got Bea Casey, who is a USA director based in, I was going to say Albany, Austin. How are you going, Bea?
I'm doing really well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So, first of all, you've been with us for quite a few years now. Why did you join Salt to start with?
Brilliant. So Salt had always been on my radar. They had stood out to me because of their reputation and because their brand really stuck out as well. And it's actually quite a nice story. I wouldn't actually live in the US if it wasn't for our CEO, Elliot.
Right.
So he had been after me for a couple of years and said, why don't you come and join Salt? We think you'd be really aligned to our values and how we operated within business. And I'd always said to him, I'm not leaving my current company. And I was on vacation in New York City, and he messaged me out of the blue and said, Bea, if you won't join us in London, will you join us in New York? And I had this epiphany, oh my word, I can actually move to New York. And so less than a year later, I lived in New York. So it was actually quite a nice story that if it wasn't for Salt, I wouldn't actually be in the US, and it was a life-changing decision to leave my family and my friends. So
wow, and to think you're holidaying and then looking around and going, but actually this is going to be my home soon. That opportunity,
and it literally was, and it's so funny. I actually lived about 1 block away from whereabouts I was, and I received that message as well. So
oh wow,
it was aligning.
yeah. And what surprised you about joining Salt?
The maturity and the flexibility towards a working environment. So one of my biggest bugbears within the recruiting industry was this rigid, KPI driven, kind of chain to your desk. I had interviewed at quite a few companies during my time, like when choosing my last job in recruitment, and I'm lucky enough to have spent, I say lucky enough, all my friends seem to be in recruitment as well. And so I know that there are a lot of environments out there that I don't think they help people flourish. People are quite scared. They're like, oh no, I can't leave for my lunch yet. And I just don't like any of that kind of attitude. I think that it's inflexible. However, I found at Salt that they allowed you to be creative, to be your own creative self, to recruit the way that you wanted to recruit. They weren't chaining you to a desk and telling you that you had to send this many CVs a day or this many business emails. They were very much about, you could send 5 emails, but if they reflect your true personality and who you are, then that could be enough to run a successful business. So that was always something that really stood out. And just the energy in the offices, you're telling they're happy. They're actually happy. What a difference. And another thing as well, working in the technology industry, a lot of recruitment companies were quite old fashioned, suited and booted. I mean, I'm going on a meeting with a software engineer who's wearing trainers and a flat cap, and I felt like a bit of an idiot. And as soon as I came into Salt, I wore my trainers, I wore cool, fashionable, went along to my meetings, felt confident. It felt like I was actually part of the digital economy and not somebody that just like should be in the banking world, for example.
Yeah. And how about, has it been a particular Salt highlight that stands out?
Oh, I've been here for 5 years in September, so I'll try and break them down and not spend too long. So I think the highlight number 1 would be being one of the founding people in our US office, actually. So I've been here for every single birthday cake that we've had in the US, and I've watched us grow massively. And on that highlight, as much as he hates to be embarrassed, working with James Walsh has been such a delight. He is the greatest inspiration. I just think that he is so innovative, and the way that he operates from a leadership capacity is just different than anything that I've seen before. Yeah, so being able to work with James, don't let him see this, he'll be going bright red as we speak if he watches this, which gives me joy too. And then I think one of the other highlights for me, I think in my career as well, like every single year I've been promoted, and I've always hit the career goals that I've had. I've always had the support. I've got to sit down with our chairman, Paul, and have great conversations, and that's invaluable. And you don't often get that with recruitment companies, I think. And I suppose to wrap up, coming down to Austin and opening and launching our Austin office was just amazing. And like James and Paul and Elliot had always kind of supported me and said, have you thought about taking that step and going and setting up an office? And that was amazing. And I came here 2 weeks before the pandemic. So I know I moved to a city. I didn't know anybody. Like, I cannot emphasize not knowing anybody enough. And then we go into a lockdown, and I'm a people person, and all of a sudden this really exciting office space, meeting loads of new people. I spent 3 months inside my living room basically, and it was really tough. And so the reason why I'm saying that's not a highlight, and like, it was an indescribable challenge, if you will, which resulted in me having a dog who's great. But yeah, not just for COVID, forever. But during that time, it was so exceptionally challenging, and the support over 2020 that I received from Salt was just, it was incredible. It was just like, James was just so supportive. The business was so supportive. They were really looking at their staff from a humanitarian, yes, perspective, and not from a numbers perspective. And so that was, I think that was a highlight, to see that the organisation that I worked for really, really cared about their employees.
Yeah. Oh, great. And another Salt location that you could choose that currently is open, where would it be and why?
Oh, this is a little bit like the genie offers you 3 wishes and then I ask for 10. So I can't help it. So, to be honest with you, what my dream would be, and if any of leadership is listening right now, what I would really love to do is actually take like a 6-month period where I would get to go to all of our offices, and I live and breathe our cultures and our values, and I'm very passionate about what we've built as a business, and I've watched us grow. I mean, I've actually known Sol, 5 years prior to me joining, maybe 4 years prior to me joining them. I watched them grow. I watched them grow from an office in Waterloo to Australia, Singapore, the Middle East. And so I would love the opportunity to go and meet with all the different offices and the different cultures. And yeah, so I'm sorry, that was a bit of a cheat, wasn't it? Instead of one office.
That's
the London, yeah, you're gonna let me off.
I'll let you have that one.
Sorry.
Oh,
hey, Bea, that as well. That'd be fantastic. I'll bring you with me.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Hey, Bea, thanks so much for your time today. Have a fab day.